Yes, I know. You might be thinking, is this guy for real? Are you about to tell me to grow mold and cook with it? Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. But not just any mold, obviously. I'm talking about koji, or its Latin name, Aspergillus oryzae. It's been used in Japan for over 2000 years to make soy sauce, sake, miso, amazake, and the amazing marinade known as Shio Koji, which we will be making today. But first, we need some mold. Let me show you how. First step in making koji is obtaining some spores. These ones I got from a European online shop, but you can find them on Amazon as well. I'll leave links in the description. This tiny amount, under 1 gram, is enough for 5 kg of grains, in my case, rice. For a better distribution of spores, we need to dilute them with some flour. I'm using rice flour just because I have it, but regular flour is fine. I found that 35 grams is enough. To remove any contaminants, toast the flour until it's lightly brown. It will happen fast, so watch it closely. Let it cool to room temperature, add the spores and give it a good mix. Place the mixture into a lidded jar or a Ziploc bag. This is optional, but I like to add one of these dry bags or desiccant that will absorb any humidity. Store it in the fridge for up to 6 months to a year. Let's move on to preparing the rice. I found that 1 kg of short grain rice works best for me, but feel free to try other types. Start by rinsing it at least 5 times under cold water to remove excess starch. Then fill the bowl with water, preferably filtered, and let it soak for up to 12 hours. Now drain and let the rice sit in a sieve for at least an hour for the grains to fully drain. Correctly steaming the rice is crucial, and by steaming, I mean letting the steam cook the rice, not the boiling water. I can't stress enough how important this is, otherwise you will get a soggy mess. The easiest way to do this is with a bamboo steamer. It's fairly cheap and it's also very good at steaming veggies and fish. I'll leave a link in the description. The bamboo steamer will sit on this giant pot. It's the only one I have that can accommodate it. Another option, less ideal, is to use a colander. This can work if you use less rice, by placing it in a pot above the water and cover with a lid. Line the steamer with a cheesecloth and place the drained rice inside, in a uniform layer. I like to poke a few holes in the rice bed so steam can easily reach the top layer. Steam it for about 1.5 hours, but this will vary depending on the amount of rice. Stir it every 30 minutes to make sure it cooks evenly. You will know it's done when it has a gummy texture. If you can flatten it with your fingers using a fair amount of force, or splitting it in half using your nail, it's done. It will feel strangely dry and uncooked, but that's just how koji likes it. Once done, let the rice cool to 30 degrees Celsius. A thermometer with a probe will be very helpful going forward. Making koji rice takes about 3 days. First step is to mix the spores with the steamed rice. I'm using a wooden crate for the first time, just because the underside of the rice bed will be able to breathe. Before this, I used a standard oven tray, which yielded good results, but there was always some moisture pooling under the rice bed that turned into soggy koji rice. Turns out, using the wooden crate was not such a good idea, but only because I overestimated the ambient temperature, which was much lower than expected, even though it's the middle of July. More on this in a bit. Line the crate with a large cotton tablecloth. It needs to be thick so it can hold the moisture. Make sure it is completely damp but not dripping with water. Place the rice inside it. If it's still hot, let it cool down some more. When adding the spores, measure 7 grams from the mixture we made earlier and use a small sieve to evenly distribute the spores over the rice. Then mix the rice with your hands until you are satisfied each grain is coated with the spore mixture. The hard part is done. Cover the rice bed with a damp tablecloth, place the thermometer probe in the middle of the rice, then press the tablecloth on the rice to make sure it makes as much contact as possible. From here it's a matter of keeping the rice anywhere between 30 and 36 degrees Celsius. Best place to do that is in an oven where you can control the temperature. My oven can go as low as 30 degrees Celsius, and that's perfect. There are other methods, like using an egg incubator, but I'm not going to cover them here. However, like I mentioned earlier, I overestimated the ambient temperature for that day. It was colder, and the rice went down to 20 degrees Celsius for the first 24 hours, so the growth halted. Since this wooden crate doesn't fit in my oven, the next day I had to move the rice to the old metal tray and let it sit at 30 degrees Celsius inside the oven for another 24 hours. This is day 3, which should have been day 2 if the temperature was correct. However, the koji developed amazingly and it created a strong rice cake. For an even better development for the next 24 hours, I will break up the rice as much as I can. This will bring extra oxygen around the grains and allow the koji to penetrate the rice even more. This time I moved it back into the wooden crate and left it at room temperature. These next 24 hours are crucial. Koji will start to create heat on its own as an exothermic reaction. This is a good thing. It means the koji is growing, but if the ambient temperature is high and the koji reaches 40 degrees Celsius, it will die. Make sure there is proper ventilation around the crate. Maybe place a fan to blow air over it, or set it in a room that has AC. Day 3 is when koji is ready. Well, day 4 for me because of the temperature issues I had. You should see small specks of yellow and dark green spores on the surface of the rice bed. This means koji has matured and is ready to sporulate. If it ever smells like ammonia or anything unpleasant, or you notice black, red or some other bright colored mold on the rice, something went wrong. It's best to throw it out. If all is good, this is the point where you want to use it. So let's make some Shio Koji. Shio Koji is used as a marinade, either instead of salt or alongside it. It depends on your taste. I keep the recipe simple. 1 part koji rice to 1 part filtered water, and 10% salt by weight. Start by breaking up the rice cake into individual grains and measuring them. Then place them in a large jar. Add an equal amount of filtered water. In my case, I had 1250 grams of koji rice, so I added 1250 milliliters of water and 275 grams of non-iodized salt. Regular salt might interfere with the fermentation. Dissolve as much of the salt as you can in the measured water, pour it over the koji rice, then use a stick blender to, well, blend everything together. It should have a fairly thick consistency. Cover the jar with a piece of cheesecloth and let it ferment at room temperature for 7 to 10 days, stirring once a day. Shio Koji fermentation is not an alcoholic one, but a mild lactic acid fermentation, so you won't notice much change during this time. It simply activates, so it can be used as a marinade. You can store it in the fridge for up to 6 months. Depending on the strain of spores you have, it might smell like elderflower, ripe banana, or even a bit mushroomy. Again, if it ever smells like ammonia or anything unpleasant, something went wrong. It's best to throw it out. I use it to marinate zucchini, which I later coat in flour and egg, then fry them. They turn out so sweet, you might think they were coated in sugar. I also use Shio Koji in bread dough. It helps the yeast rise and makes the bread extra fluffy. When marinating minced meat for, say, lasagna or any kind of meat, the enzymes in Shio Koji will break down proteins into sugars, adding a subtle sweetness, tenderizing the meat and enhancing umami in the final dish. And that's it, koji rice and Shio Koji, a mold that will elevate your cooking. Enjoy! Thank you for watching. I hope this video helped you learn something new or inspired you to give this recipe a try. And if you do, leave a like, subscribe, and let me know how yours turns out. Want more? Check out another recipe here. I think you'll like it. If you have any questions or ideas, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, bye.